Indeed, greetings upon you, beloved and holy friends. Thank you so much for joining me here again today on another video, another moment, another live stream. I do appreciate your presence. Thank you for sharing this space with me. As we get into another live stream, there are a bunch of things worth saying that I want to say, and they're kind of not exactly attached. One is about fear, one is about non-separation and realizing your individuality. One is about egoic creations, but all of them have so much value. And if anything, if you find this and you see these things worth saying, say them or just listen to them and feel for yourself what you feel. So the first one goes, think about two pencils on either side of a table. Even though the pencils are identical, the lead inside of them, the wood they're made of, the way they're painted or, decorated potentially, they occupy two different points of space. And the way to, if you will, perceive this information is to think of yourself as potentially one of these pencils. We are identical to an extent. Obviously, we're not, identical as human beings. But what's more important to realize is that we're occupying two different points of space. And there's so much of it. And every single time we access a point of space, space expands infinitely from that point outwards. At least that's the way I like to think about it. The second thing we're saying, if you will, goes, you are held lovingly, your whole physical dimension, in the center of spirit. So again, with that point of space, you are held lovingly in the center of that, at the center of that point. And every single one of us is at the center of that point, experiencing space from that point. Whew. There's a few more. And then there is this one. What can fear be other than energy? Just as love, compassion, sadness, anger, and forgiveness is energy. These things are neutral. It is only when the egoic mind perceives and experiences differently that turmoil is created. As in, all of it flows again from that single point. And as soon as you attach some sort of understanding, perception of your experience onto it, that is when you can create turmoil. And then this last one is the one I wanted to really get to, like almost bringing all of these things together. And it goes, the egoic mind is also a ceaseless creator, but it only creates that which continues its existence. Whew. That one is the one that really kicks me. The egoic mind is also a ceaseless creator, but it only creates that which continues its existence. In other words, the ego, at least the way we perceive our egos, is also constantly creating narrative for us to be completely attached to that ego. And it does so literally with the intention of building that attachment, furthering its own existence. Your ego, the way you perceive the own self-talk, doesn't really want you to be free from it. Because as soon as you're free from it, it ceases to be. And I don't think that the ego in itself is something that needs to be completely abolished. Like I was listening to a Alan Watts talk today where he was also going in about the ego. We shouldn't have this, he said, schizophrenic understanding of ego and divinity, because again it creates the separation of higher being versus lower being, and this higher being is at the reins, at the steering wheel, if you will, of the lower being. And in doing so, you're basically creating again the separation inside of yourself, where our ego basically does that, to us. It's kind of weird, it's kind of backwards, because it is this, self-fulfilling paradox of, I feel separate because I am completely aligned with just my ego, right? And like that is one of the, if you will, what is the selling points of the ego is like, I'm separate, I'm a small little me, and there is all of this largeness all around me, and I am completely separated from it, and where the opposite understanding, the expansive understanding, is that your little ego isn't something that is small, or the being that is you isn't the ego and isn't something that's small, rather, as a way to say it. Okay, I'm just getting into it. I'm missing so many hellos. Hello, Cody the Painter. You're first today, my friend. So nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. It's so nice to have you. You are I, you are, I am, we are all divine. So that is an answer to the question I'm asking. Day 269, what do you think is divine? Or, yeah, something like that. What do you think is divine? And the other answer is, you are, I am, we all are. All of it is. None of it is not. Again, there is no separation from the divinity of it as well. And it can be so difficult to accept that and to see that and to feel into the nature of that. Like I was washing the dishes today, you know, and like my family went to church, so I wanted to have a clean kitchen for my mom when she came back. And I'm like washing dishes, and I'm like feeling kind of okay with myself, you know, like, yeah, you know, getting this shit done. Sure, my mom's gonna be happy. And I like hit my leg so severely on a little bit of a protruding drawer. That's the word. And I like really, you know, I was like going for momentum. I was listening to something while doing it, and I just hit my knee, and I'm like, the pain. And as first, like, I thought I'm completely alone, so I can scream. And then I was like, no, you're just gonna breathe instead. And I breathed and I breathed, and I felt like in that moment I came to this recognition or this understanding as to how pain can be something so visceral, and yet it is so much more impermanent than all of the rest of it. Right now, I'm like, obviously this is talking from some sort of egoic understanding of the pain as well, because all of the pain I've experienced subsided eventually. And there are certain types of pains, like, you know, for example, chronic pain. And I don't know exactly how I would deal with something like that, but in that moment, you know, as I was breathing through this pain, I was like coming to a sort of realization as to you can basically get through anything. You can breathe through literally anything. And for a second, like literally for a split second, I was kind of fascinated by pain, and I was intrigued by it. I was like, and this pain is going away. I was very much in pain like a few seconds ago, and now yet with just me breathing, the pain is subsiding. And I thought to myself, I kind of like, it's gonna sound yikes if I say it like this, but I for a second understood where masochism came from. And I was like, okay, I can kind of see where it comes from, but it's definitely not something I'm looking forward to. Oh goodness, here comes Cody with saying pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Oh, dude, I'm like, I kind of feel like I'm tripping out a little bit. Maybe I subconsciously read that comment, and now I'm saying something about it. But yeah, 100%. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Goodness, it's so freaking hot. Oh, it's uncomfortably hot. South Africa. I'm gonna be sweating. I'm like literally like drenched right now, but hopefully there comes some cool breezes through. Candace, good morning family, and Esty and Geese. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us, Candace. Candace was actually on the podcast last night. It was really nice having you. Good morning to you as well, Aiden. Thank you for joining us. Alan Watts is such a good soul. I mean, Alan Watts would say that he isn't if he heard you say something like that, but I would agree with you as well, Candace. Good morning, Dragonborn. How are you, dude? It's been a while. It's so nice to see you again, my friend. Slag is here as well. Good morning, loves. Good morning to you, Slag. How are you doing, my friend? Alan Watts definitely built a foundation of perspective. Built the foundation of perspective. That's... I mean, that's a little bit of a statement, Aiden. That's a big one. I'm not sure if Alan Watts. I think if anything, Alan Watts was one of the, at least in our time, one of the biggest proponents or speakers for more perspective. But I'm not sure if he built the foundation of it. I mean, perspective was probably something we've had as a foundation as humanity for a long time. Like technically, what Alan Watts did is he brought the Eastern understanding of religion, of spirituality, to the West. You know, he brought Buddhism and, some of the Hinduism teachings to the West. That was like Alan Watts' whole shtick, if you will. Making ideas, religious ideas that have been practiced for thousands of years, more accessible, if you will, to people who have only experienced one side of religion. Like the people he was teaching was mostly, brought up in the Christian kind of communities. Afternoon, whatever. No, whatever is necessary. Slag. Thank you for joining us, my friend. It's such a in such a beautiful and understanding way. Absolutely. So, Sensei is here as well. Meltmore talking about a new awakening inside of him. No, not exactly. It wasn't an awakening. It was just more a recognition of pain, a different recognition of pain. Like I felt very much unfazed by it, if that makes sense. Insane. I was so aware. I was like, oh, this sucks. And then I realized, oh, there is the ability for me to either overreact, make a loud noise, scream a little bit. And I felt that was my initial reaction. And then I was like, no, I'm just going to breathe instead. And obviously I don't have evidence for this, but I have this slight suspicion that if I screamed and I made a scene out of it, instead of breathing properly, I would have stayed in pain longer. And that's something that also, piques my interest. Hello, Simon. Hope your day's going well. If your day's going better, love the shirt, my man. Looking good. Thank you, professional scene. I actually haven't worn this shirt in a while. Hey! What are you doing? Huh? Yeah. I could also make some sounds directed towards you. He looks away, pretending he doesn't hear me. Lisa! It's been so long, my friend. Thank you for joining us. Good morning to you. How are you doing, my friend? It is now, build the foundation. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Aiden, for the little asterisk. Build the foundation of my perspective. Yeah. Actually, now that you're saying it in that way, I don't think Alan Watts was the only one, but he was definitely one of the big players, if you will, in the changing of my perspective. Especially so in the accepting of the perspective that I am more than just my ego. Like I think if it wasn't for Alan Watts, I probably would have taken a lot longer to come to that realization. But he definitely was one of the people that helped me. Like my time in China was spent listening to so much of Alan Watts. Like I would be so obsessed if I were playing games, instead of listening to music or something, I would like have an Alan Watts podcast or a podcast lecture or something, running in the background. Probably dampened my absorbency rates, but I think it's still in there somewhere. I agree, brother. He just taught me a new perspective. That's perfect, Aiden. I wasn't trying to call you out. I was just like your statement, the one you shared, and as I said, the my was very much necessary. It was just a little bit too all-encompassing, I think. Maybe that was my problem with it. Bonnie McMurray, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah? Uh-huh. Cool story, bro. Tamar, I really want to say your name correctly because even though you said I'm making it better, I'm still like self-conscious about saying it incorrectly. Tamar. Tamar. Somewhere there. No dancing today. Bonnie McMurray. I haven't danced on camera in a while, I should say rather. Like my dances, if you will, have come very spontaneously. And in the moment, usually before, while, and after I'm showering, because I'm listening to music during those times as well. Yeah, it's been difficult for me to muster the amount of mental energy it takes me to dance that long. It's quite taxing, unfortunately, but I'm feeling like it's definitely coming back to it, Bonnie. Maybe with the heat being up again, the mornings not being as cold, we can expect some. Look forward to it. Bonnie, I look forward to seeing you there. If you haven't heard of Ram Dass, he's another divine soul to delve into. Are you asking me, Yader, or are you asking Aiden? Aiden, if you haven't listened to some of his stuff, I also agree with Yader. The dude definitely has a lot of insight as well. I really like that he went through a very interesting transformational period as well, where he had like a 5 year stint where he took exorbitant amounts of psychedelics, and like he goes into saying once that that activity, if you will, stunted him in some ways of his spiritual pursuit, and I can see it as well. Like the way I think about it is not so much that it stunted his spiritual pursuit. Technically, it does, but I'm just rationalizing as to why that would be. I think it's because of an informational overload, where through spiritual practice, be it meditation, be it prayer, chanting, breath work, take your pick, you can gain these bits of information. Then sometimes you'll go months without getting any information, and you'll feel stuck, and you'll feel like there's something wrong, and then suddenly you'll get a little bit of this information again. Where if you take a lot of psychedelics, and especially for that long a period, like back in those days, it was a lot more accessible, one, and it was also very, what do I want to say, nonchalantly done. I think there was less known about it at the time. And through doing psychedelics, you do still gain information, but you gain so much potentially. And if you continue doing that for like 5 years non-stop, you're going to gain so much informational, I want to say almost baggage, through which you couldn't have sorted / integrated into your life just yet. And then if you take up a genuine spiritual practice afterwards, then suddenly you have all of this information that you have to like sift through before you can get to what it is you're supposed to get to. At least that's the way I'm like interpreting it, if you will. And it makes me think, like, what would have happened to Ram Dass if he started his whole psychedelic journey with more intention / alignment with what he knows? Because like he went through some very interesting things as well. He went to go and study under gurus as well. Like I've been thinking about stuff like that as well. If that is ever something I would want to do, to be a student to some sort of other person. Something that resists it in me. It's like, no, you have to find it for yourself, dude. No teachers whatsoever. I'm like, but what about Alan Watts? What about Terence McKenna? What about Ram Dass? I'm gonna take a sip of this water for learning. What about all of these people I have learned from? It's like, yeah, you've listened to them, you've not learned much from them. Okay, fine. Fine. I gotta go sweat. Get out of bed late. My body is angry. Take care, friendos. Take care, Sensane. It was nice to have you here, my friend. Sending you good vibes. I'll do that. Definitely. I definitely can this. I think you would like it as well. Enjoy. Have fun. Enjoy, friend. Sweat it out, my friend. Hello. It was for anyone that hasn't heard of him. I know you were well aware of Ram Dass Estian. I know you know as well, Yader, so I knew you had to direct it towards someone else. But I wanted to, excuse me, say something nonetheless. Yeah, I've been starting to look into his stuff. Very much good stuff as well. I still have to read Be Here Now, his book. But I do already, I feel like, yes, I'm just going to be nodding my head like, yes, I agree, yes. Nancy, my friend, just turned me on to Simrit Kaur. Her singing is divine. I'm now a total fangirl. I didn't know Simrit Kaur. I mean, that's an interesting name as well. Is she foreign? I want to ask. Does she sing in a language that's not English? Simrit Kaur doesn't sound like an English name to me, Nanshi. Please do enlighten me. I'm going to start driving, so I'll be listening in, just not gonna chat. Know that I'm listening and sending love. Know that we're sending you love as well, Aiden. Genuinely, thank you for joining us, my friend. I hope you drive safely. Perspective. I'm trying to form some sort of, I want to call it an idea, but it's not exactly me building an idea, like not a string of words in my head. I'm imagining, again, this single point in space, the single point that you are now in whatever space you find yourself in. And then how many things was built upon this point? Cells, body parts, personality, bias. Is bias and personality mutually exclusive? I think they can be. And then, like, spirituality. Like, the way I think about it, at least the way I feel I'm trying to think about it, is that we are, again, this point of perspective, this point of awareness within whatever body we find ourselves in. And that is basically the essential nature of it. And then that point of awareness now has these machinery built around it, and it allows this point of awareness to manipulate. So instead of me just being here and staring out into the world, and that being my default state, I can also have points of awareness of inside of myself, points of awareness to the amount of water I have in my body, the amount of moisture in my mouth, how dry it feels, how much I have drank, and as a result, how much I still want to drink, what it tastes like. As a point of awareness as well, we have so many points of awareness all over our bodies, and we can also manipulate with these points of awareness, for instance, our touch. And then there are these things above this, this plane of existence of physical, if you will, points of awareness. And there's the ability for us to have, in the same way, multiple points of awareness inside of our mindscape as well. To have points of awareness, depending on your personality, depending on the things that you take offense to or are hurt by, triggered by, the things you genuinely like, the things you think about / don't want to think about, the things you perceive as threats in your environment, the judgments you've held towards other people, towards yourself. Again, all of these points of awareness. And I feel in some way these points of awareness would encompass the previous points of awareness, this physical point of awareness. And then if you go above just the mental points of awareness, I believe there should be, at least in my opinion, spiritual points of awareness as well. A certain, I want to call it a feeling. I don't know if that's a point of awareness of inside the body. Technically, if you ask, a scientist, he would say feeling is something your body does, thinking is something your mind does. But there is a recognition, an understanding that when you do certain things, or if you practice certain practices, these points of awareness open up to you. And it's curious to me how these points of awareness are something that we can open up. Like we have all of these other points of awareness that we grow up with, if you will. We become very used to our thirst and our hunger and our physical needs, be it warmth, be it camaraderie, be it closeness or intimacy with another person. It's not something we necessarily, at least not in the way I'm thinking about it right now, have too much access and growing. Maybe we do. Like some part of myself, like the way I'm trying to visualize it doesn't even make sense to me right now. Like I just have this, like kind of, it looks like this a bunch of spheres, and like I'm trying to force certain spheres into different places because I'm imagining, for instance, let's talk about our sight. Imagine our sight and how much perspective it gives our experience as we're having it right now, right? So our sight as a point of awareness would be something quite large, right? If you think of it, all of the things I'm going to be talking about can be represented in some sort of sphere, imagination. And then this sight, I believe, would be encompassing the other spheres of, for instance, your hearing, right? Like you can argue that the amount of information, the amount of perspective we have with our sight is like exponentially more vast than our hearing would be. So this hearing perspective, sense, awareness would be encompassed within the sight awareness, and as a result aided, right? It makes it more complete. Man, this is already too much. And then the same thing goes for everything else. Your touch, like your touch technically is, if you look at it from the amount of neurons or connections in your brain, also pretty significant with our experience of or awareness of. But all of these things basically create these lenses encompassing each other, making this point of perspective more and more full. And the thing I'm like trying to get at, the question I'm trying to ask now is, how do I and can I put more layers onto it? Because we know that the layers we're given shrinks, or the spheres we're given shrinks. My eyesight, if I don't get glasses, if I don't have my eyes replaced eventually, it sounds yikes saying it like that, I'm not going to be able to see. In like 100 years, my eyes won't be at the same level of detail as they are right now. And that is completely inevitable, not something to worry about. But in the way I'm thinking about it right now, I can see my eyesight weakening as a shrinking of that perspective, that awareness. And it's going to be the same thing for my ears. I'm guessing it's going to be the same thing for my nose. I'm guessing it's going to be the same thing for how well I can touch. I'm guessing it's going to be the same thing for how well I can, taste as well. So these layers, these perspectives, these points of awareness are going to be shrinking with inside of my personal physical beingness. But yet there are these layers, like even above those, that are at the same time expanding as these other points of perspective are shrinking. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that conscious expansion, that maybe that's just exactly what it is, intentionally, instead of finding myself doing it with age, right? Losing my senses slowly but surely with age. How can I gain senses with intention? I think the problem, and I'm finding this problem with inside of myself, where I have a clear means of referencing or attaching visual imagery inside of my mind to different ideas or different feelings. For instance, the ability to see is very much something tangible, right? It's something we can point to and being like, yeah, this is what seeing is like, if you will. This is what hearing is like. This is what tasting, feeling, smelling, thinking about old relationship, thinking about the stuff that happened to you as a kid. These points of awareness is very much something tangible, something you can point to within inside of your own beingness. But with spiritual pursuits, It's not so easy. It really is not so easy. Quite the contrary. It's kind of elusive. Like I'm literally, I feel like on a mental level, I'm like running around in my mind trying to catch whatever this idea is, and it's like, no, no, nope, can't catch me, nope. Oh goodness, I'm missing a few comments. I'm sorry. Listening. Okay, drive safe, my friend. Thank you for letting him know the same thing. Tamar says it is a hard German ch sound. I hope that's the way, but totally an R. Kamach. Kamach? Kamar? Kamar? Oh, almost like a micro gurgle in the throat. Kamar. 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 I'm gonna learn. Slowly but surely, my friend. Thank you for letting me know again. Become Nobody was a good Ram Dass book. There is a documentary as well, if you aren't the reading or audiobook type. I am the audiobook type, but I'm also the documentary type, so I'll actually go and check it out. Thank you for letting us know, Yader. Simrit Kaur sings in English, and I think the other language is Gurmukhi. That's a cool sounding language, actually. Gurmukhi. Check out her album, Simrit Live in Los Angeles. She's a she is transcendental. She has Greek heritage, grew up in the South, and lives in North California. Thank you for letting us know, Nancy. She is transcendental. I don't know what that means. At least, like, what it means to me, I don't think you're meaning what it means. Like, if you're saying someone is transcendental, I literally imagine them kind of with a blank expression on their face. Just being like, almost like a ghost of a person now, because they have transcended. There's nobody home anymore. Weirdly, you could also think about sight as a mental awareness. Your eyes are an exposed nerve of your brain. Yeah, literally. Your eyes very much are a part of your brain. You have a brain outside of your skull. Seeing. Oh, man. I actually forgot about thinking this. I was thinking as well about how different we probably see things. Like, something that really fascinates me is the fact that I've always had trails, if you will. Like, very, very fast ones. But if I do something like this, I can see, like, a ghost of a hand, you know, following until it hits here. And the craziest, the way I realized this, and we talked about it again, I think, on one of the streams, but the way I officially realized this was at a music festival. And me and my friends were playing with lions, if you will. And my one friend, to know the lions are kicking in, if you will, he was doing this. And I was looking at him like, what are you doing? And he's like, I know it's working when I start, you know, seeing trails. And I'm like, what do you mean you know it's working when you start seeing trails? I'm like, it looks like there is this ghost version of my hand following it when I whip it around. I'm like, you have to take psychedelics to get that? What do you mean? It must have been like that my entire life, dude. It's never stopped. I mean, I think, you know, to some extent it happens to all of us. Because, for instance, if you have like a little ember in the middle of darkness and you make a little circular line with it. Circular line with it? Yes, a circular line with it. Infinitely circular line. You will be able to see like a solid circle even though it's a single point, right? So I'm curious as to how we, person to person, individual to individual, perceive even though we could potentially have the same eyes. And what is it being determined by? Like, is it something determined by the amount of brain juice we have? You know, neurochemicals? I think to some extent so. And the reason I feel so, especially, like, I've had some pretty surreal experiences with breath work and I've recently found as well now that my body does this weird thing where if I'm meditating, I stop breathing, even though I'm not doing breathwork exercises. And like I went and did some research about that. Apparently, hypoxia triggers your brain to release more DMT as well. So my body is just like coaxing me into, okay, let's cease breathing. And the craziest part about it is it's like this weird realization as well, where I'll be meditating and then I'm like, something is what's happening? And I'm like, oh, I'm not breathing. And then you breathe again. So like we definitely have the ability to influence our own neurochemistry. And we know for a fact dimethyltryptamine is produced by our brain in like significant quantities as relevant as to the amount of serotonin and dopamine you produce. So what I'm saying is in equal, like semi-equal, like if it was like a bunch of 250 ml glasses of neurochemicals that you had in your brain, you would have like a full glass of serotonin, you would have like 70% glass of 70% full glass of dopamine, you would have like a 60% full glass of DMT. That is a lot. That is way too much DMT inside of our brains for it to not have some sort of effect. And me and my friends have rationalized, at least I tried to rationalize, that I believe DMT, or at least the role that DMT plays, is directly in perception of all of it. So it would be like the lens to see all of it through. The way you feel, the way you hear, the way you smell and taste, and the way you see especially is basically modulated, mediated by the amount of dimethyltryptamine either in your brain or that is being, given to your brain. And we know that this is somewhat testable because when you add exogenous DMT to your system, suddenly your perception of this reality completely changes, right? So if exogenous extra DMT literally changes your perception of this reality, where you can be convinced that you are either one, dead, or two, no longer a human being. Like, excuse me? What? Like, this is just something we have on our planet. That tree, that tree, maybe this tree a little bit, produces dimethyltryptamine. Why? I think I know why. I believe it's, been given to us by nature. But I also believe that we all produce different levels of it. And how does that affect our perception of this reality? How do we practice that muscle? Is something I'm curious about as well. Me and Goob had a conversation last night, and I got so fascinated and excited about the possibility, or the is it a possibility? Maybe just the imagination, rather, I should say, of being able to understand our own minds, our own energy production systems, our own energy utilization systems, and being able to manipulate that directly. And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay, so imagine being able to use our brains, right now as it is. The reason we can think as much as we are is because our brains are hungry hippos. Our brains eat like 25% of our total caloric intake. I mean, head is pretty small compared to the rest of my body, but it's munching. So the reason we can think and the reason we are as smart as we are is because of the amount of energy our brain consumes, right? We can all assume that. We, some of us at least, have some body fat. So how sick would it be if you could literally rev your brain? I know that sounds kind of hectic, but imagine being able to upclock your brain in a intentional way, to be able to tune into different levels of perception, be able to upregulate, for example, different neurochemical production, and as a result of that upregulate the amount of neuronal activity happening in the brain. And as a result of all of this activity, your body and your brain is going to have to expend more energy. So in theory, and technically, like, if you want to get real technical about it, it is possible. Because if you fast, your body eats your body fat, and your brain runs off of that body fat. So I'm just trying to jump the gun and get my body to be revved up to the point where it just eats my body fat. Imagine being able to like close your eyes, meditate, and then like build the most amazing geometric cities in your mind space. And instead of just, you know, thinking about what you're going to eat tonight, which is also technically computationally expensive, now you're building entire geometric self-folding into themselves light cities inside of your mental scape. And now instead of just burning 10 calories to have the thought, what am I going to eat? You're building 10,000 calories with the thought of, oh, look, I'm building. Building, building, building. I think it would be so cool. I don't know if we're going to reach that point, but hopefully, I say if this message is hitting 10,000 years from now, future humans, and you're like, oh, Melt, if only you knew. If only you knew. All of them rev their brains right now. Weirdly, you could also, okay, I've already that one. Fearception, Yater. The fearception, dude. I'm so sorry, man. How do you define a thought? So for me, and this is a weird thing to say, I don't think in thoughts. I think visually. So inside of my mind, like I have this space, and this space is always like shifting and changing and like morphing into different things, and as I communicate, whatever is inside of that space changes, and then as I try to articulate what happens in that space, that is the thoughts coming out, the way I think about a thought. And interestingly enough, when I'm in this space, I lose the ability sometimes to think thoughts like that. Is again with that intention of like, oh, what is going to happen a little bit later? What am I going to do? It's this mental narrative that you practice. That to me is a thought, at least. As one point of awareness dwindles, another will likely be growing. Oh, Yater, thank you for saying that, my friend. I agree. Yeah. I'm imagining. So, okay. If you can imagine a plane of existence, right? Like literally just a two-dimensional, or is it, yeah, two-dimensional plane of existence. And then you can have like a little sphere. If you push this sphere through this plane of existence, and you can only see this plane of existence, the sphere is going to start very small, open up, close back up, and then disappear. And that's the way I'm thinking about it as well now. Except I'm thinking it on a five-dimensional level, where instead of going through a single plane of existence, being a circle that goes big and small, I'm thinking of fifth-dimensional geometry, where instead of it being only a circle, it's the entire sphere becoming smaller and becoming larger. But as it becomes smaller, it grows into another dimension, which is, you know, for instance, aligned to spirituality, losing your eyesight. Yes, yes, sphereception. Yeah, sphereception it is. Can you do it intentionally, or is it up to the universe? That's what I'm wondering, Yater. Because I feel to some extent it is kind of up to the universe, dude. And I don't want to accept that. I feel like it's sometimes something that is so what's the exact word I want to use? Spaced out, fleeting, situational. All of those words kind of hit the point, but not exactly. It's like it happens when it's supposed to happen. Ooh, it was just a big lizard that shimmied his way into the rocks. It was pretty. So yeah, I think in some ways it probably is up to the universe how much of it you're allowed to experience. And I'm like, can I drive? The universe is like, no, you don't know how to drive. I'm like, I do know how to drive. It's like, bruh, this is the entire universe, my dude. You cannot drive. But I want to drive. No, no, you cannot. You cannot drive. Does it almost become an intentional sacrifice of one for another, you think? So, Cody, that's like, I don't know if my explanation makes sense, but so, oh goodness. fifth dimensional objects or fourth dimensional objects would, okay, if in this plane of existence a fifth dimensional object had to enter and exit our plane of existence, it wouldn't pop into existence and then pop out of existence. It would literally grow from a single point into its entire existence and then grow from its entire existence back into a single point. So you can say in that way that because this thing exists in this fourth or fifth dimension, entering this third dimension, it has this nature of it, appearing out of nowhere and then appearing or disappearing back into nowhere, when in fact it's still very much inside of its own dimension. So if we can go, even higher with different levels of dimensions, technically as one shrinks, there is information volume is another way it can be can be thought about, being given to another dimension, another energy, another way of feeling. Our superpower as human beings is being able to adapt. Oh yeah. We're very much good at adapting, Tamar. What's up with that? Maybe that's exactly why we're surviving, or why we have survived. Like I read this post once, on some sort of, what was it again? It was some sort of Reddit post. I'm trying to remember the post above the comment. I remember the comment because it triggered me, but this person was like basically, oh yeah, humans are pretty weak. If humans were living out in nature, we wouldn't survive, a day or something like that. I'm like, dude, how exactly do you think we managed to get to where we are right now? We had the ability to communicate. We had the ability to fashion and use tools. Like, we as human beings definitely knew how to survive out in nature. I think we're somewhat losing our ability to survive, exclusively or as an individual human being. But we human beings very much are powerful. And our ability to adapt is, I think, possibly one of our most unique powers. Technically, it's a part of all of nature. Maybe that's just what we as humans did. We figured out that human nature changes, and we're like, yes, I'll take that trait. Thank you very much. Maybe. Yes, I think humans are amazingly adaptable, more than most think. I think I know that as well. Steve the Pirate, hello friend. Nice to see you this beautiful morning. It's nice to see you, Steve the Pirate. To you friends that don't know, Steve the Pirate is also a streamer friend. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry for only getting to your comment now, my friend. Thank you for the hugs, Infamous One. Who loves you, babes? I love you all. And we love you, Infamous One. We love you so much, my friend. Thank you for joining us. I love you. Tracers, that's what I always call them. Yeah, tracers, I guess. So the reason I was wondering about this is because I would consider myself, I haven't played games in like 2 months, but I used to consider myself a gamer. And frame rate, and especially refresh rate, can be something that can improve your gameplay experience. So I was thinking to myself, was other people having a better gameplay experience than me because they have higher refresh rates? I was like, do I have a low refresh rate? Or is my mind holding on to different frames? That's the way I'm interpreting it. Like, instead of my brain being like, okay, we see one frame, we see one frame, we see one frame, like, like 50,000 frames was kept in my brain for that like little sweep, and then there's like these lines, like following them, I guess. Promptly football tackles everyone with bear hugs. Yes, football tackles. Okay, like football is the American ball sport. Rugby tackle is basically what we would say, but I agree completely. I think you are Divine Infamous One. Thank you, my friend. You're so loving. I love this. For everyone coming in hot with the love eggs, you are divine. Yes, we are all. Being able to tap into our natural DMT would be a powerful thing. Yeah, dude. Like, I believe we are going to, Cody. I think what's happening right now is humanity is being prepared for our next step. And I think that definitely has something to do with it. Man, it's such a touchy subject as well. Man, please. Like, fortunately, I've been trying to do things, and breathwork has been the closest thing I can get, or the closest thing I have found that gets, to the point where it can kind of regulate the endogenous dimethyltryptamine releases. But, and this is something that's trippy as well, friends. I don't know if you know this. If you take lions, LSD, do you think the LSD is what makes you trip? Not at all, actually. Yeah, like they did a study where they basically did the same study where they were finding out how much dimethyltryptamine is present within the living mammalian brain, and they also found upon administering LSD to the little subjects that they were testing, dimethyltryptamine production increases by 1,000%. Did you hear that? 1,000% increase in your naturally produced DMT. And then you have your psychedelic experience. It ain't the substance, friends. It's you. You're it. I've still not tried it, but want to badly. When someone talks about it, I do the knee slaps. Like, damn it, I want that. Oh, infamous one. It will arrive at your doorstep when it's supposed to. I can guarantee you that, my friend. Like, I've also been wanting to go for another dimethyltryptamine experience. The last time I've been on one was almost 3 years ago now. 2 years and 9 months, technically. And it was one of the most significant and life-changing, profound, awe-inspiring experiences. Not trying to hype it up too much, but I'm sharing from a definite, personal experience place. And it was something that completely convinced me of the fact that I'm very much wrong when I'm holding on to my atheist beliefs, if you will. I was like, oh goodness. Oh goodness. Yeah, I couldn't be an atheist anymore. And then, like, I've wanted to again. But, like, I've wanted to when I first arrived back from China, which was last year, August. Then we had a party, like, had a bunch of friends come over, asked them to bring me some DMT. They were like, oh, you couldn't find any. I'm like, okay, universe says no, I'm going to listen, no DMT. Then there was a second party where I was at the festival. Also wanted to get some. Universe was like, nah, dude, not just yet. Then on the 15th of May, well, technically on the 14th of May, my birthday, friends came through, and I wanted them to bring through some DMT for that weekend. The universe was like, nah, dude, nah, not just yet. So I've wanted to as well, infamous one. And even though technically I was capable of attaining it, the universe was like, nah, dude, not just yet, man. You still have too much to learn, so that we can help you unlearn it again. Yeah. But it very much is something that can blow your mind. Throw some nitrous on that brain. Yes. My pure brain when I fast. Yeah, I mean, I don't think your poor brain, actually, infamous one. When I'm fasting, I feel more clear than ever. Your brain would be getting those calories from the same food in your stomach if it had it tough, right? Yeah, it would. G, king off. But again, if you have the ability to regulate that, then you wouldn't have to, keep pressing the button if you don't have enough food just yet. For instance, if you find yourself, stranded somewhere and you don't have access to food, it wouldn't be very efficient to just be revving your brain to burn as much energy as possible. You would be down regulating that and just have basic thoughts. Oh man, but now I'm realizing as well, it'll probably, if we did have that capacity, we would just be eating 20,000 calories a day, everyone, and just like thinking so hard. So man, human beings will be able to use anything for the destruction. Sounds correct to me, geeking. Yup, sounds correct to me as well. It's an interesting thought, isn't it, geek? It's fun to think about, if anything, man. Darth Zombie, yes, my friend. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing, dude? I heard actually yesterday that you got your Viking Queen piece, dude. I'm so happy for you, man. How have you been? How are you doing? Good. 5-day fasting program is done. Now time to start rebuilding in a cleaner way. How did you feel, Darth Zombie? Is like just as someone said, fasting as well. You're like bringing it into the chat. How have you felt? How have you felt, my friend? Like fasting is something that has had so many benefits for me as well. And we're probably going to go on a fast very soon. It is the 26th. We have 4 more days left, friends. Oh goodness. 5 days is no small feat. No, it's not. It's very impressive. 5 days. I took your 5 days and I find inspiration. Do. Thank you. It was an interesting process, but yes, I'm happy for the accomplishment. We're happy for you as well, my friend. Music says, music and animals says, what exactly do you mean by divine? Well, that's a question I was asking you, my friend. That's a question I was asking you. If I'm going to answer your definition, if I'm going to give you your definition of what divinity is, then it's going to be a little bit less divine, my friend. That's why I'm asking you. I want you to teach me building my perspective of what's divine. To me, personally, all of it is. I find myself looking at things I don't like looking at when I say that as well. Like things that would bother me normally. Like the cracks in the wall. I'm like, yeah. Also divine. If that crack wasn't in that wall, it would just be a flat, boring old wall. And now the flat boringness is interrupted by the fractal nature of the crack. It's little squigglies. Separation. Making the unity beautiful. It's all divine, my friend. We should adapt selectively, otherwise it might be a super weakness. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Because you can look at what's happening to society right now. You know, our children, the way we're utilizing social media, and you can kind of see that as a maladaptation, if you will, a super weakness, because we're becoming too selectively adapted to that, and it isn't necessarily the only way for us to live a happy life. I was listening to Alan Watts yesterday aloud, and my son said he didn't like how he speaks about women. Alan Watts, does Alan Watts talk a lot about women? I haven't heard him talk too much about women, actually. That's an interesting point, Infamous One. What exact thing was he saying about women? Like, I'm literally just pulling blanks. Oh, goobity goob goops. Good morning, evening, night and day to all of the friends worldwide. And a good morning to you as well, Gav. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Thank you so much. Matthias, thank you for the hugs, my friend. And thank you for joining us. How are you doing? Both of you friends. Gav, Matthias. It's so nice to have you here. Damn. I got the low refresh rate. Oh, shucks. I want that high refresh rate, right, Yater? I mean, I'm not too attached to the high refresh rate, right? Like, dude, I mean, if you talk about the inner refresh rate, then yeah. Like, oh goodness, it's too much. It's too much. So maybe I'm compensating. Maybe the reason I have lower refresh rate in this plane of existence is because I have higher refresh rate in my plane of existence. Because if you like have close-eyed visuals, things never happen only for a second, right? Like you don't get like a solid image for a second and then a new solid image and then new solid image for a second. No, that solid image becomes like and this is happening like literally in a single second. So every little thing, you know, is like a 1,000th of a frame, and then there's like one of these 1,000 frames in a single second of experience. So in that way you can have extremely high refresh rates. Oh goodness, now this is putting me through a whole new thinking, like how we experience psychedelic / inner visuals differently as well, and how that could also theoretically be determined by your entire life experience, your entire body, your entire perception of this reality as well. Oh, this is too much. Yater, my brain is melting, dude. I can't. Just woke up. Hope everything. Whoa. Hope everyone's day has been well so far. Thank you, Matthias. I hope you slept well, my friend. My day is going well. I hope that yours is doing well as well, man. Good day to you, kind sir. Hope you're well. Refresh. Rate my meat, bone, blood, and skin suit. Man, like that's just what you just said, Gob, makes me think of walking into a machine and then there's like just one big refresh button, and then it like fills up with steam and some pressure, and then it has to like kind of depressurize, ejecting all of that steam, and then you're just inside said pod, completely refreshed. What would happen if you got refreshed? Maybe your skin would be super radiant. All of your organs cleared from possible toxicity. All potential scar tissue completely, I want to say destroyed, but it's replaced instead. Would this refreshing, you said only meat, bone, blood, and skin suit. So I'm thinking maybe no. I wanted to ask, would it also be refreshing your biases slash traumas? Man, we have to figure it out, Goob. How we're going to build the... Come and use our meat bone blood skin refresher. That sounds horrible, Goob. No, stop patenting. Friend, glad as well so far. The rest of the day will be too. Good morning. Melt is spitting facts. I'm happy that you're appreciating it, Infamous One. It ain't the substance, friends. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're telling me that I got a 1000 TMT, but got the low refresh rate. So again, Yater, I don't. Me personally, I don't think of it as just low refresh rate. I think of it as image retention, if anything. And I believe, depending on processing power, there could be some sort of logical reason to have image retention. So the way that I perceive it, if you were to look, like if I'm just going to do a spin, and I've looked at all of these things, the longer image retention I have, I mean, it's only going to be beneficial to some extent as well. But if I can have, like, let's say a 5 seconds should be good information, 5-second image retention of what just happened behind me, then I can continue to analyze that information and continue to find, information within it. So for instance, if I do this and I don't see anything, and I still have the image retention, and then I realize after reprocessing all of that information that there's a lion, peeking through the grass looking at me right now, then it could be theoretically evolutionarily advantageous to have some sort of image retention. And in upregulating, for instance, the amount of dimethyltryptamine in your brain, you have even more information, more processing power, more neuronal activity to work with, and as a result of that, your image retention ability goes up. At least that's the way I logicicize it for myself, Yater. Are those sunburbs? They might be. I'm not too good with burb names, unfortunately. Morning. I want to try mushrooms, but I live in Texas and I have no clue where to go. We've considered loading up the dogs and road tripping to Joshua Tree for a couple of days. Dar Zombies. I feel I'm walking on a very thin line, and I am going to continue balancing myself. I support you. I can say that. Hope the week brings you good things into you as well when it rains. Thank you for joining us, my friend. How are you doing? Mariah is here as well. We love you, Mariah. Thank you for joining us, my friend. How are you doing as well? How are the kids? I was born and raised in Texas. Go to a pasture and look around the tree trunks and tree bases. Oh, I mean, that's a little bit sus to say to someone Infamous One. Like, I would rather not say that, because a lot of people, like more people get hurt slash have negative experiences with mushroom eating because they're picking poisonous mushrooms than people are experiencing eating actual mushrooms, if that makes sense, right? So people aren't having bad or potentially dangerous experiences because of the mushrooms. They're having those dangerous experiences because they're looking for mushrooms and then eating poisonous ones. If you know what you're looking for, it's one thing. But yeah, if you've never had mushrooms before and then you have to go and look for mushrooms, then it's even more difficult. Uh, 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 I wish I could just, be one-on-one in person. It sounds epic. Maybe for your first time to do it where you feel safe and not in a completely new environment. I agree with that as well, Yater. You want to, even though the nature of a psychedelic experience can be to let go of control, you want to, for your first few experiences, at least have the illusion of control. Being able to control what it is you're going to do with your time, where it is you are, be it your room or like a safe space. You want to control those things first and foremost, so you have at least some inkling of control before you lose it. And people are like, what, you lose control? No, you don't lose control in the way you would lose control of alcohol. You lose control in the way you would with your narration, maybe, with the stories you tell yourself, with the bias you've held on to your entire life. No, love you. This is the way. I agree completely. No, love you. Thanks for this. I hope it is for you as well. There we go. To tell to you as well, friend. Oh, glass almost fell over. I don't know how they look. I would end up picking the wrong type and crapping myself all day or something. Yeah, Dar Zombies, I'm happy that you also brought that point. That is the most important thing, dude. Like, they're not, if you know what you're looking for, they're relatively simple to spot. Like something, like it wants to come out of me. The information is like, oh yeah, share us. I'm like, no, damn it, that information can get me in trouble. Hey, good morning to you, Comedy. Thank you for joining me as well, friend. How are you doing? I feel the same way. I need to be around experienced people for trying it the first time. I don't think that's necessarily so, actually. Like, if I can, like, I don't. This is not a recommendation. I'm not giving any advice. I'm just speaking into the universe. Like, this tree. I'm talking to this tree. So, tree, if you wanted to experience psychedelic mushrooms, first and foremost, be a human. And then also start with a very small dose. Like, more so than often, negative experiences aren't influenced by the actual substance, but by the dosage. So start with, if you wanted to, tree, half a gram. Half a gram of mushrooms for a tree would be more than enough. For most trees, if you will. And then it would also not be as intense, if you will, tree. You will have a little bit more control, but you will still be able to experience what could potentially be. And in doing so, you can also give yourself a little bit more leeway and comfort and understanding what is to come when you're going to try and do it again. But the reason I'm saying I wouldn't recommend a tree does it with experienced other trees for the first time is because experienced trees can sometimes look like they have such a understanding and comfort within the experience they're having that you seeing their comfort can basically make your discomfort feel even more uncomfortable, if that makes sense. At least this is what I've experienced personally. He doesn't melt. It was the lesson. Treat her like a woman. I've never listened to that one, actually. Infamous one. Treat her like a woman. What does that mean? I feel like he's losing me basically with that as in its own, like just the title. I don't want to treat her like a woman. I want to treat her like a person, like a divine, individualized creator. First and foremost. Like, I think, putting on gloves, the woman gloves or the masculine gloves every time you interact with someone is disingenuous in any way. What would happen if we got refreshed. I guess that depends on if we get to keep our browser history. Yeah, I was thinking about that as well, Cody. Like if I had to enter the machine knowing full well I'm also going to lose all my memories, I'm not sure I want to get refreshed. And that says a lot to me as well. You know, even though some of the memories might be painful, I wouldn't want to forget them. I wouldn't want to forget the things that have caused me pain either. And this is why you have experienced it. Once you have experienced it, you have an idea of what to expect, and then very much explore with it. I agree completely. I agree completely, Yader. Vegans talking about a normal food sounds a lot like that. The chickens are so cute. Good morning, brother. You look beautiful today. Good morning, beautiful family. Oh, Toasty. You just had to come in with flattery, huh? Add a couple of the flattery. If the stick doesn't work, try the carrot. I'm joking, dude. I love you, man. Genuinely thank you for your love. How are you doing? 1.7. I agree. Brian, kids are doing great. I'm happy to hear that, Mariah. Thank you for letting me know, my friend. I'll be playing with meerkats and monkeys today. Never hippie flip before. I'm so excited. So, if I can give advice... No, I'm not going to give advice, actually. And you're like, please, Melt, give me advice. No, Toasty, I'm not going to give you advice. I mean, like, the advice I want to give is be lenient with the meerkats. That's the advice I want to give. If anything, just be lenient with it. If you can, make sure you don't eat a single unit of meerkat. Maybe put single unit of meerkat in a bottle of water and drink only a third of it. If I wanted to give advice, which I'm not, of course not. I wanted to taste the juicy steak. Coons. I'm sure juicy steaks are in abundance on this planet. It's not something you'll have to look very far for. Police show up. I heard you were giving a tree advice on mushrooms. Dang it. I thought this would be okay. Damn it. Still in trouble. Still in trouble. All I did was give advice to a tree. All I did, I didn't know. Nope, that tree's life is ruined. Frickin' stunted its growth. It's only growing a centimeter every month now instead of 1.5 centimeters. How dare you, you monster. Oh, we have Katie here as well. My friend. My beloved friend. How are you doing, Katie? How have you been? Has things been a little bit better? Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. Give me the blue pill. Yummy steak. Hello to you, Katie. Oh, it's a good thing I googled that. Have fun. It's basically just a combination, if you will. One of them, the monkeys, basically gives your body psilocybin that gets phosphorylated, and then after being phosphorylated, it turns into psilocin. Psilocin, that's the word. And then after it being turned into psilocin, it represents your own naturally produced serotonin very, very, very closely. And that means it knows how to bond to the HT2TA, you know the receptor. It bonds to that. And then meerkats basically is a reuptake inhibitor. So the mushrooms give you serotonin. The meerkats, the monkeys, the meerkats allow you to keep it in a way. Keep it is relative. It forces you to keep it technically. It's like the monkeys. It's like here is this compound, and you're like, oh, thank you, and then you hit it against the ground in your liver. Technically, a piece of it breaks off, and you're like, bzzz, yeah, brain go brr. Where meerkats is like, oh, brain go brr. And then instead of providing the little molecule, it's like, yeah, keep the molecule in there. Like, it guns your brain with the molecule, basically. That's the difference. And doing them together is both the gunning of the brain and also giving it the thing to gun with. So it can be quite an experience. I was thinking, you delivered, love it, yo, bro. Oh, it's a Matrix reference. I want to taste the juicy steak. Okay, I'm getting it now. dude sold out. I mean, not exactly, but dude sold out his friends for a steak, basically. Have fun. You delivered. Hello. Oh yeah, absolutely. Just a point of meerkat. Yeah. Like the thing with meerkats reuptake inhibitors is that they do exactly that. They force your brain to not reuptake things, inhibit the reuptake of things. So in doing so, it basically leaves you with less at the end of the day, and that can be not detrimental but very unpleasant as an experience if you overdo the meerkats. Meaning, if we are in a simulation, refreshing the whole damn thing would cause chaos, I believe. Just a soft reboot is what we need, with a better refresh rate, of course. I mean, the crazy part about it, at least in my opinion, Dark Zombie is the fact that we're going to do the exact same things, even if we could refresh or, in your opinion, soft reboot. We would be rushing, most of humanity, if you will, rushing to make the same fuck ups that they made the previous time. Oh, look! All of these fuck ups have been unfucked. Let's go and fuck them again. I'm sorry for the cursing, but that's sometimes how I feel, how the world is just like, oh well, destruction, hate, judgment. No, let's continue. I don't fuck around with meerkat. I respect those little guys, and I never visit multiple times. I'm so happy to hear that, Toasty. Like, I have friends who are very much close friends with meerkats, and like it's concerning sometimes. Like, there was one festival that me and this friend went together to, and like we don't see each other for a while, and we meet each other on the dance floor again, and he has like the eyes, and I like feels like this dude is like looking through me, looking into a mirror, looking through me again, looking into his own eyes, bouncing back from there, looking through me again. And I was like, are you okay, dude? And he's like, yeah, I took 3 grams of meerkats. I'm like, bruh, that can kill you. He's like, yeah, it can. I'm like, bruh, no, no. I was so concerned about him. He survived. He's still alive. He's in, like, the craziest part is he's extremely intelligent. He's like definitely genius level intelligence as well. He's a programmer. Dude is pulling in gang cash so he can afford that as well, which is the sad part about it. It's like this loop of he's intelligent, so he likes to, if you will, rev his brain. Because he's intelligent, he's earning a lot of money, and because he's earning a lot of money, he can afford a lot of brain revving substances, and then it's this. And it's not for us to say whether or not they're wrong or right, but if anything, we can be conscientious and loving towards one another and bring up our own points, dude. That's why I had to say something, Toasty. I love you so much, my friend. I finally streamed again last night. I should have tagged y'all. Yes. Yeah. You should have. How dare you not tag us, Katie? I'm just joking, my friend. Know that you're loved. I'm so happy that you were streaming again. Do I get all my health back, but do enemies respawn? Hopefully not, dude. Hopefully the enemies stay despawned. I think we've dealt a long time with the enemies. Unfortunately, we also spawned into a world where the enemies happen to be level 10,000 bosses, dude. And we spawn into this reality being less than level 1 sometimes. Some of us get born into some levels, if you will, if you want to think of financial security as levels. And I wouldn't, put it like I wouldn't, pretend that I didn't gain some levels from my parents as well. Like, I never grew up poor. I mean, there were times where we weren't, capable of affording things, I would rather say. But I was never required to go to bed hungry. And having that, being able to say that is not something that everybody is able to say. But the fact, on top of that, that maybe that means I'm like on level 30, there's still these level 10,000 bad guys, and the way I'm thinking about these level 10,000 bad guys are these global conglomerates, these massive corporations that are just, constantly wrecking our planet for the leveling up of this single person. And it becomes so intimidating because how are we as I'm gonna say I'm level 23 because that's my current age. How are we, I suppose, as level 23 characters to hit up to these level 10,000 characters? Damn it. Meerkats sell insurance in the UK. Good to know. Is their insurance any good? That's the question. It's awesome. Next time. How did the stream go? I'm curious as well. Half the time it doesn't work anyway. Yeah, unfortunately, that's also true. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. I'm happy to hear that. We have Shark Duck. Says Mel, good to see you, my dude. Appreciate the vibes. I appreciate yours, friend. Thank you for sharing yours with me as well. Hopefully, full health. But this means enemies would also be full health. That is unfortunately true. Like the way I think of the reset, if you will, this refresh rather, it's just a shaking of all of it maybe, and then if there was any high stacks of it, the shaking of it makes it fall a little bit equally again. Like maybe that would be the way to refresh it if anything is. Awesome. I split my meerkat into two. It's a better time. I agree completely, dude. Like same actually. Like with me and friends, like the few times I was willing to play with meerkats, it's like, okay, I'll take a sip off of your meerkat water, and then I'll see. I don't want to overdo that especially. And I don't know if this is just me, but the one time I did take more than significant or more than insignificant rather amount of meerkats, I had just full on psychedelic experience as well. So I was like, oh, interesting. So it was very much something that was almost intimidating. I was like, okay, my own serotonin has some effects as well. Wait, so I'm all AF. You eating meerkats? Yep, we eat meerkats, my friend. We break them in half first, and I'm lost. Yeah, so meerkats is, I don't actually know the chemical name for it. MD, MA, just attach them. Monkeys is mushrooms, lions is LSD. That's like the gist of it. We're trying to fly slightly undercover. We're also, giving our keywords away, but we're just slightly undercover. Same, off to my coffee. Love you and love you, Infamous One. Thank you, my friend. I'm sorry for losing you. I have done psychedelics at festivals 3 times so far. Twice without the assistance of meerkats. If anybody decides to do psychedelics at a festival, I highly recommend having a group to go with and having a home base to surrender to. Yeah, especially like if you're gonna try it at festivals. Yeah, like my first lion experience was at a festival and it was very amazing, but I'm also the type of person that doesn't stay put. My friends didn't see me that day. They kind of like met me again at night. They were like, oh, hey, you've been missing for like 12 hours. And I've seen them like, passing by or like, going to the tent site for a while. But I was just moving around, having conversations with people. Meerkat, love you. To have a great day. To unless you're experienced. Exactly. So yes. Yes. That's the one. Corns. That tree agrees with you, Corns. Took me a while. It's okay, my friend. Don't worry at all. Almost. I believe ecstasy has other stimulants, including like caffeine, yeah, and cocaine potentially as well. You're right, Toasty. Are you saying you actually streamed, or are you saying you streamed? Meaning, no, I think she actually streamed. Possibly. I mean, if she wanted to tag us, she possibly just like did a normal stream as well. At cut with other, yeah, Molly's pure form. That's true. Yeder knows as well. What are you doing? Just MDMA. Yeah, young person drug along with acid too. Yeah, it's true as well. Like I think it's a young person's drug because it is something that you can take without any. I feel when I say baggage attached to it, you're just basically gonna get compassion, happiness, love for yourself and for the beings around you without having to kind of deal with any information that comes along with that. It's a easy drug to take, unfortunately. Lurb's your friend. He lurbs you as well, Jovan. I hope you know. You probably had MDA, very close to MDMA, but also makes you trip a little. Man. Again, that, what you're just saying, Toasty, that pisses me off, dude. That's like one of the reasons I also don't like, taking any capsules, if you will, because I don't know what's inside of them. Where with the mushroom, I can literally see the fungus body. It's so much more direct, so much more natural, in my opinion. It's the one I prefer out of all of them. Jovan. Lurbs, you do, friends. Oh, we do. We do. Where is this? NZ? No, this is South Africa, Corns. This is South Africa, my friend. Thank you for joining us. It's beautiful, new day. I'm happy to see you. How are you? Oh, Kira Burp. Thank you for being here with us, I'm doing well. How are you doing? Kira started making a work of art yesterday. We love you, my friend. I hope you know that. Okay, help me figure this out. Is there a relationship between the idea of a personal identity and the self? It's a good question. Not Mahika. Mahika, yeah. Mahika. Thank you, my friend. Is there a relationship between the idea of personal identity and the self? I think you are that relationship, my friend. Technically, you are the relationship between the personal identity and the self. At least that's the way I think about it. You literally are that relationship. Because the self, the way that I'm interpreting you saying the self, is like the creator, or like, the all-encompassing universe. And you're asking if there's a relationship between the personal identity, the ego, what we see if we look in the mirror, for example, and that self. And again, the relationship is you. The way you live your life is the relationship to that self. Man, thank you for co-creating with us, Makita. That's beautiful, my friend. It's a beautiful new day. I'm also very happy to see you. I'm doing well, and I'm enjoying the morning. I'm happy to hear that, Yeter. Sending you so much love, my friend. Loves all the friends. I believe it's a young person's drug to abuse, for sure. Done in moderation, under a point, can be done safely and can open your mind. It can open your mind, and it can do so much for like PTSD as well. It can help you be in a mindset where you're more willing to revisit memories that might be painful. And in revisiting them, you might gain more clarity from them as well. Like MDMA has amazing research being done right now for PTSD sufferers. So, like, the thing in itself, again, is not the problem. The problem is dosage. People start with MDMA, it becomes something that they can always feel good in doing, but they can feel good in doing so only if they hit that dose, hit that level of reuptake inhibition, if you will. And you have to keep pushing it if you want to reach that point. And it's also something that's easy. And it is not as addictive as some things, but it is addictive because of that easy nature of it, if you will. Nice, so you're on GMT too? No, I'm not, Corns. I just add the GMT time because you friends are. I'm on... What's the time zone is ons? I don't know, actually, dude. South Africa. I live in South Africa, man. Sorry, Mel. Didn't mean to make you upset. I always test my stuff with reagents. No, Toasty. It's not your fault, dude. Like, you didn't make me upset at all. It was just, like, the realization that, oh, nice. I probably ingested something I didn't mean to. I was like, fuck. I didn't want to do that. But now I probably did. And again, that's the problem with those things as well. I'm happy that you have reagent kits. We don't have access to them here in South Africa as much as we're supposed to, unfortunately. Pisses me off that that is a thing, like, and literally, what's the word I'm looking for? Inhibition, making it illegal, like lawing or warring drugs creates a market in which people get hurt because, you know, the substances they think they're getting is being cut with something else, and as a result they get to hurt themselves. It's not so much the actual substance. And if the substance was legal, we would be able to have proper practices, proper access points, and we would know exactly what it is we're getting. Oh, Tamar, bye Mel, bye everyone. I hope you have a great time as well, my friend. Thank you for sharing the space with us. So, do you pick them and let them dry before eating, or do you just eat the cap and not the stem? I know they are small, but what the hell is a gram size? I am so confused. So yeah, like literally, the gram would be dry weight. So it would be 10 grams wet weight. If you find them wet, you can eat the entire fruiting body, so stem and cap included. And you don't have to dry them. You just can dry them. If you dry them, you want to dry them cracker dry. You literally want them to like snap and break into pieces when they're dry, because moisture and oxygen oxidizes your psilocybin, meaning it's going to lose potency the longer it is kept in that state. And if it has any moisture, if inside of its fruiting body, it becomes an environment for contamination or molds to grow in. But you can eat the entire fruiting body basically. And if you want to do it fresh and you want to have your first fresh experience, it would be basically 5 grams of wet weight, like a half a gram of dry weight. Darth Zombie is. Have an amazing day. Bye, Angler. Asking for a friend. Yeah, of course. We're just asking for friends, and I'm saying it to the trees. Let me guess. The tree over there. Yeah, of course. Of course, of course. Is weed legal there? It is. Corin's lead is like, well, it's been decriminalized, technically. My friend is an oak. Yes, this is the happiest sentence I have ever read. My friend is an oak. Trees are very much, in my opinion at least, sentient beings. Oh, they have such a personality to them. It's gorgeous. The war on drugs is just as damaging as the Afghan-Iraqi one. Say snap again. Snap. Yeah. Yeah. You're perfectly right. And we are winning the war on drugs. Yeah. Companies are now dropping their cannabis restriction policies because they're no longer getting employees. The war on drugs is being won by us, friends. Let's keep going. Snap again. I love you, brother, to the moon and back. I will let the moon help me channel you during my trip. Let's dream. And Closey are gonna take me home, dude. I know Closey, dude. I hope you have an absolutely amazing one. Gonna go back to sleep. My friends, I'm going to, in that case, not necessarily directly because of him, but I'm also going to say goodbye. Tucks you in. Oh, toasty warm. Night, friendo. Oh, that's beautiful. I love you, friends. Genuinely, thank you so much for joining me in this space. For having these conversations with me. Drugs won the war. Yes, Yader. Yes. And we're going to win the war against darkness as well, friends. Every step we take, every conversation we have with one another that is aligned with love, we're pushing into the universe. Love. Yeah, love. Love. I love you. Thank you. I'll see you all again tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone.